In 1921, the small Welsh town of Abertillery was shaken by the brutal murders of two young girls, the second of whom was 11-year-old Florence Little. The perpetrator, Harold Jones, was just 15 years old at the time. His connection to both Florence's murder and an earlier killing brought notoriety to this otherwise quiet community. The first murder, Freda Burnell. Before the murder of Florence Little, Harold Jones was acquitted of the murder of Freda Burnell, an 8-year-old girl, earlier in 1921. Freda had been found dead in a shed owned by the Jones family. Suspicion fell on Harold, but he successfully convinced the jury of his innocence, claiming he had discovered Freda's body and did not kill her. The verdict was not guilty, and Jones became a local hero, admired for his apparent courage in the face of suspicion. The murder of Florence Little. Less than a month after his acquittal, Harold Jones struck again. On July 8, 1921, 11-year-old Florence Little went missing, and her body was later discovered in the attic of Jones's family home. She had been brutally murdered. This time, the evidence against Harold Jones was overwhelming. Florence had been lured to Jones's house, and he had taken advantage of his reputation from the previous trial to gain her trust. Investigation and confession. Once Florence's body was discovered, the community's mood shifted from admiration to horror. Harold Jones was arrested and interrogated. He confessed to the murder of Florence Little but never admitted to killing Freda Burnell, despite the similarities in the cases. Trial and incarceration. Given Harold's age, he could not be sentenced to death. Instead, he was convicted of Florence's murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The trial was a high-profile event, highlighting not only the heinous nature of his crime but also the failure of the justice system to prevent a second tragedy. Aftermath. Harold Jones spent 2 decades in prison, released in 1941 after serving 20 years due to his age at the time of the crimes. After his release, he lived quietly under various aliases, avoiding the public eye. His story has remained an enduring example of youthful criminality and the psychological complexity behind juvenile offenders. Florence Little's case, alongside Freda Burnell's, remains a dark chapter in British criminal history, with Harold Jones's story becoming a subject of study and fascination in the field of criminology. The case continues to evoke interest as a reflection of early 20th century crime and the dangers of misplaced trust. Florence Little was laid to rest in Blaenau Gwent, the local area of her hometown, Abertillery, Wales. Specifically, she was buried at Brynethel Cemetery, which serves the Abertillery region. This cemetery became a place of mourning for the local community, deeply affected by her tragic death. Her grave was a poignant reminder of the brutal crime that had taken place in the small Welsh town. I would also like to thank Simon Payne, the owner of the channel, for researching, editing, and for making this memorial possible.